One of the holiest time on the Christian calendar has begun, Easter period, and today is Palm Sunday. I'm afraid to say the news from the Holy Land is not good. But let me start with the self-described most moral army in the world. Self-described. I know Mr. Hexet tried to appropriate that term for the US military soon after attacking and ordering the murder and massacre of 175 Iranian elementary school children. But that terminology, the most moral army in the world, is what the Israelis use for themselves, for the IDF. But we should extend that to the Israeli police, to their cabinet. It is a militarized state. Every Israeli of a certain age must serve in the IDF. And many of them, when they leave the IDF, they sign up as reserve soldiers. And that's who Israel calls up, in addition to the serving IDF. So basically, the entire nation, except for the Orthodox, serve in the most moral army in the world. Thousands and thousands of US citizens, I guess dual citizens, serve in the IDF and they return back to the US. Thousands and thousands of British nationals serve in the IDF and then they return to the UK. These individuals are serving in the killing fields of Gaza, killing fields of Lebanon, killing fields of parts of Syria which they occupy, serving in the killing neighborhoods of the West Bank, serving in bombing and bombing and bombing of Iran. So, because they have been relentlessly filming themselves, committing all sorts of egregious actions which are called war crimes, they are now subject to war crime prosecutions. So the Hind Rajab Foundation is identifying them and then reporting to the countries where they go and visit, either for vacation or where they live, and produce evidence of what war crimes they have engaged in. So that has been happening. There is an obituary today of a young man, an IDF, identified as an IDF soldier, who was killed inside of Lebanon. And the obituary says, man from Connecticut. So a man from Connecticut signed up to serve in the IDF, invaded Lebanon as an invading, occupying force, and lost his life as an invader of a sovereign land and a sovereign peoples. Now, of course, they didn't tell us how many people he had killed or ethnically cleansed or if he had killed any children. But he was from Connecticut. I think that is the key point. He was from Connecticut because that is what it says. We would not have known. So there is that happening. So what is the most moral army doing today on Palm Sunday? Well, for the first time in centuries, I quote, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem was prevented from celebrating Palm Sunday Mass at the Church of the Holy Sepulcher in Jerusalem. having been stopped and turned away by Israeli police. You heard that right. The official statement from the church is, this morning, the Israeli police prevented the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, His Beatitude Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, head of the Catholic Church in the Holy Land, together with the Custos of the Holy Land, the Most Reverend Friar Francisco Lelpo, OFM, the official guardian of the Church of the Holy Sepulcher, from entering the Church of the Holy Sepulcher in Jerusalem as they made their way to celebrate the Palm Sunday Mass. For the first time in centuries, the heads of the church were prevented from celebrating the Palm Sunday Mass in Jerusalem. Now, it is important to remember that the most moral army, the most moral police, the most moral folks preside over our most holiest sites. Birthplace of Jesus. Also Al-Aqsa Mosque. Today we have seen howls of protests from Western leaders, Macron, Meloni, so on and so forth. Howls of protest. How dare you? This is awful. Immediately reverse this. Freedom of religion is being choked. How dare you? They're very upset, as they should be. They're issuing statements of condemnation, as they should. The most moral army shut down Al-Aqsa Mosque for a month now. Throughout Ramadan, Muslim worshippers were not able to worship at Al-Aqsa. On a regular basis, worshippers at Al-Aqsa are beaten, pushed, harassed. Israeli troops marching into Al-Aqsa inside with their boots and their muddied boots, kicking people and kicking things, desecrating the mosque on a regular basis. Ben Gvir, the right-wing interior minister who was also convicted for terrorism, marches to Al-Aqsa claiming that it is going to be part of their tradition and the Muslims will be pushed out. Yes, yes. Did we hear any howls from anybody in the Western world? No Western leader had the decency to call that out. It's not just Al-Aqsa being closed. Hundreds and hundreds of mosques were turned into rubble in Gaza. Hundreds of mosques have been turned into rubble in Lebanon. Mosques have been bombed in Iran. Right? Muslim cemeteries have been desecrated by this most moral army. We have not had howls of protest from Meloni or Macron or any of the others. It has always been Israel has a right to defend itself. Okay. Why is that same thing not applying today? Israel has a right to defend itself. They've shut down Palm Sunday Mass. This is a horrendous act by Israel. It is spitting on millions of Christians. But the hypocrisy of the Western leaders is so blatant and transparent today. Did you really think this immorality, indignity, supremacy wasn't going to bite you on your ass? Because it has. They have attacked Christians in Gaza. They attacked a very major church, Orthodox church in Gaza, where people were sheltering from their attacks. Pope Francis used to call them every night to check on them. That was the lore that he used to call every single night. He used to FaceTime with them, even from his hospital bed. I didn't hear howls of protest from Meloni or Macron or any of them. So that is the biggest news in the Western world right now, is that the most moral people, the most moral army has shut down Palm Sunday. We're very lucky they haven't bombed it, the churches, because they're quite capable. They certainly bombed any mosque they could find in Gaza and now in southern Lebanon. So Pakistan is hosting a foreign ministers conclave today. So Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Pakistan are huddling to try to figure out how to promote peace in the Middle East and stop the war. Good, very good. The problem is the Saudis are being tagged with this war. And the Western media is constantly reporting that the Saudis are pushing for this war and telling Donald Trump not to stop, that he must continue to bomb and bomb and bomb. So I don't know how that needle is being threaded, but there is that. We'll see what comes out of that. Last night, Pakistan announced that their brotherly country, Iran, had permitted 20 more Pakistan flag ships to sail through the Strait of Hormuz. Great. There'd be 2 ships per day with Pakistan flags. Now, we don't know whether this is oil for Pakistan, excuse me, or produce or fertilizer. We don't know. But I hope it is to benefit Pakistan and benefit Pakistanis, because that would be very helpful to Pakistan. Also, we understand that 20,000 seafarers are stuck on vessels, and their organization is saying they have never received so many distress messages, that many of the tankers and crew are running out of food, running out of water. They cannot abandon these ships because they need to send money to their families. There we are again. It is the neediest, the poorest, the most vulnerable who are stuck like sitting ducks. It is heartbreaking. And I would hope that if Pakistan is able to navigate through the Strait of Hormuz, that they also go the other way, carrying food shipments and clean water shipments for these 20,000 seafarers stuck on tankers, but between 2,000 to 3,000 tankers which are stuck. Congress is in recess for Easter. They have fled town. It's amazing how when something terrible is about to happen, Mike Johnson seems to rush out of town as fast as possible to give Donald Trump the room to do his dirty. So I worry that the 2-week recess is also coinciding with American troops amassing in the Middle East, literally amassing. What are these troops amassing for, I ask again? The timing is very dangerous because all of Congress is gone. And it's the best time for Donald Trump to do terrible things with nobody to answer to. He doesn't answer to anybody anyway, but at least there's some optics. Some optics. Not now. He will be home alone and able to do whatever he wants to. Him and Netanyahu, who, by the way, is openly telling us that he's continuing his murderous campaign. That, again, telling the stenographers that because America is icing Israel out of what the negotiations may look like, they really want us to believe that America would ice out Israel, because that's impossible. It wouldn't be happening, and even if they did, Israel would be spying on every one of them, so no chance of that. But because America is icing out Israel's very nervous that America may walk away, they have tripled their campaign of bombing Tehran. Specifically bombing Tehran. And The Guardian tells us that they're specifically bombing densely populated residential areas. Well, yes, they've bombed more than 60 hospitals. They have bombed several universities. They've bombed steel plants. They've bombed infrastructure. They also bombed a water plant yesterday. Apparently, that was a joint Israel-Washington event. Watch what they do, not what they say. This is a war crime. Bombing water plants, bombing critical infrastructure that helps 93 million people continue with their lives. Bombing that is a war crime. Bombing universities is a war crime. It is also genocidal intent. Bombing universities, bombing heritage sites, bombing water plants, bombing paramedics, hospitals, ambulances. These are all war crimes. But Israel's taking the lead in doing all of that. War crime after war crime. Western media is looking for another Malala. Today, NPR had somebody reading their diary. Sound familiar? And then the president of Iran, apparently his son is writing diaries, which they're also quoting. So they're desperately looking for another Malala. Anyway, enough said about that. I went to the march yesterday, the No Kings March here in New York City, and it was huge. There is no doubt. It was pretty huge. It was very anti-Trump, anti-war, anti-ICE. I think those were the three big themes. Young, old, people from different backgrounds. Indivisible, that is one of the co-organizers, tells us that more than 8 million people marched across the United States. It was the largest ever march. Good, but we can't stop here. It's not enough. It is absolutely not enough. Again, I say, armies are gathering, amassing in the Middle East. The danger grows and grows and grows. Millions of people are imperiled. Absolutely imperiled. On Palm Sunday, we can see what one of the aggressors is doing. We can also see Western leaders' hypocrisy. It is so blatant today. But we see it. We see it. Well, I wish everybody who worships on Palm Sunday to be able to worship peacefully and without any guns in their faces. Unfortunately, that is not the case for the Christians in the Holy Land, in Lebanon, in Gaza,